my channel Anupma Biology Classes. In this video, our topic is chromosomal theory of inheritance. This video is from CBSE class 12th from genetic series and it's taken from chapter 5th part 2nd. So let's come on the topic. Here the first topic is test cross. So what is the purpose of test cross? The purpose of a test cross is in an organism showing the recessive phenotype must have a homozygous genotype for the recessive allele, and it is important for breeders to know the genotype of an organism. So what is test cross? A cross between an individual of unknown genotype and an individual which is homozygous for the recessive characters is called test cross. And the result of a test cross is it yields offspring of which 50% show the dominant character and 50% show the recessive character. That is, F1 ratio is 1:1 and the individual under test cross is heterozygous. This is so because the individual showing the recessive trait must have received one recessive allele from each parent. Now, the use of a test cross. The test cross reveals the genotype of an organism displaying the dominant phenotype. It was devised by Mendel and contributes to an important tool of geneticist. Now, types of test cross. And here there are two types of test cross, in which the first one is monohybrid test cross and it deals with a single character and gives F1 ratio of 1:1. Here, if an unknown dominant phenotype, it may be capital B or capital B small b, when crossed with homozygous recessive, that is small b, in this condition there are two dominants, so two conditions will be formed. That is, if small b cross with capital B, then 100% black will be formed, and if small b cross with capital B, so 50% black and 50% white will be formed in F2 generation. So in test cross, it is used to determine the genotype of an unknown individual, and the unknown is crossed with a known, that is homozygous recessive. Here you can see at the place of question mark, it may be small r or capital R. So in the possible outcomes, if the phenotype will all red, then the unknown parent is capital R, that means homozygous dominant. And if some white and some red will be formed, then unknown parent is capital R, small r. It means the heterozygous dominant is the parent. So the test cross is used to determine the genotype of an unknown individual. Second is dihybrid cross. It deals with two traits at a time and gives F1 ratio of 1:1:1:1 for a cross between double heterozygote and a double recessive homozygote. Here it shows a dihybrid test cross. So if a F1 individual, that is capital Y, capital R, small r, crossed with homozygous recessive parent, that is green wrinkle, then in F2 progeny at place of 9:3:3:1, 1:1:1:1 will be formed. It means 25% yellow round, 25% yellow wrinkled, 25% green round and 25% green wrinkle will be formed. That means ratio is 1:1:1:1. So in a test cross, you can see here the two conditions. Like in the first condition, a test cross resulting in all dominant offsprings indicates that the parent is homozygous dominant. And if a test cross resulting in a 1:1 ratio of yellow to green offspring, it indicates that the parent is heterozygous. Now, back cross. So what is back cross? A genetic cross between a hybrid organism and one of the original parental type is called a back cross. So the result of a back cross is it depends on the parental type. A back cross between a heterozygous F1 individual and a homozygous dominant parent give the progeny having the dominant trait only. A back cross between the F1 heterozygote and a homozygous recessive parent produce offsprings with both the genotype. Now, the uses of back cross. It is used by the plants and animals breeders as a rapid method of purifying the desired stock. Now, here the example of back cross, and this is the example. Here you can see in this the hybrid parent will cross with the dominant parent, that is capital T, or recessive parent, that is small t. In case of dominant, 100% tall plant form, and in case of recessive, 50% tall and 50% dwarf plant will develop. So here this is the just opposite of test cross, and here the hybrid can cross with dominant or recessive parent, but in test cross the homozygous or heterozygous dominant can cross only with the recessive parent. Now, the genetic principles discovered after Mendel. So Mendel held that the traits are transmitted from generation to generation as a stable unit of heredity, and this stable unit is called factors. Now it termed genes. Here are few important discoveries which are listed below, in which the first one is in 1831 Robert Brown discovered the nucleus in the orchid root cells. In 1848, Hofmeister discovered nuclear filaments which were later called chromosomes by Waldeyer in 1888. In 1873, Strasburger found that nuclei arose from the pre-existing nuclei. In 1882, Fleming clarified the chromosomal events involved in mitosis, including the transfer of chromosomes from the parent cell to the daughter cells. In 1902, W. S. Sutton and T. Boveri suggested the role of chromosomes in heredity. And in 1933, T. H. Morgan confirmed the finding of Sutton and Boveri, and he was the first to associate a specific gene with a specific chromosome. So, on the rediscovery of Mendelian principle in 1900, the research on heredity units started and soon led to the chromosomal theory of inheritance. Here, the parallelism between the Mendelian factor and the chromosomes. So, the Sutton and Boveri found a close parallelism between the transmission of Mendel's hypothetical factor and the behavior of chromosomes in sexual reproduction, in which these findings are: the first one, that is, the chromosomes occur in the homologous pair in diploid cells. The paired homologous chromosomes separate in meiosis first so that each gamete receive one chromosome of each homologous pair. The chromosomes of the various homologous pair are assorted at random in meiosis, and the chromosome of each pair segregate independently of the chromosomes of every other pair. The homologous chromosomes of two parents come together in the zygote formed by the fusion of male and female gametes, each contributing one homologous chromosomes. The chromosomes retain their structure and individuality throughout the life cycle of an individual, whether they are noticeable or not. Thus, a firm basis for the Mendel's law of heredity exists in the behavior of the chromosomes in meiosis and fertilization, and paved the way for the chromosome theory of inheritance. Now, the chromosome theory of inheritance. And here, the first is the male and female parents pass on to young one only a spermatozoa and an ovum respectively. So, because of this, both these, that is sperm and ova, carry all the hereditary informations. The spermatozoa provides only the nucleus to the zygote that develops into the offsprings. According to this, it shows that traits are present in nucleus. The nucleus contains chromosomes which must be carrying the hereditary traits. Sutton suggested that the genes are the actual physical hereditary units that are located on the chromosomes in a linear order. Because the chromosomes of each kind separate in meiosis, it is obvious that the genes of each kind do the same. So, a gamete receives only one chromosome of each type and therefore has only one gene of a trait. The paired state of chromosomes and hence of the genes also is restored in the zygote by fertilization. A wide variety of phenotype in living organisms shows that there are far more numerous characters than the chromosomes. So each chromosome carry many genes. So according to all these genes actually determine the traits are carried by chromosomes from the parents through the gametes to the offsprings. And this led to formulation of chromosome theory of inheritance by Bavarian Sutton in 1902 and confirmed by Morgan in 1933. The chromosome theory indicates that the Mendelian factors or genes are located at specific loci on the chromosomes, and it is the chromosomes which segregate and assort independently during meiosis and recombine at the time of fertilization in the zygote. So in this picture you can see the homologous chromosomes and the position of a gene on the chromosome, and this position is called locus. According to this chromosomal theory, cytology and genetics converged as cytogenetics. Now the chromosomal explanation of segregation. So according to Mendel's principle, segregation of factors in terms of the movements of chromosome during meiosis. The homologous chromosomes bearing the factors pair in metaphase first and separate in anaphase first of meiosis. In the anaphase second, the chromatids separate and enter into gamete along with the factor present in each. So, a diploid hybrid after the meiosis first, then meiosis second, form the haploid spores. Now, the chromosomal explanation of independent assortment. So the principle of independent assortment describes how different genes independently separate from one another when reproductive cells develop. During meiosis, the pair of homologous chromosomes are divided in half to form haploid cells, and this separation or assortment of homologous chromosome is random. So there are two illustrations in which the first illustration is, here you can see a dihybrid cross between a pea plant of yellow and round seed and another pea plant of green and wrinkled seed. Here the segregation of alleles and formation of gametes occur. After this, it shows the two possible ways in which the two replicated synapsed homologous chromosome segregate in the metaphase of meiosis first for F2 generation. This leads to independent assortment of the chromosome and the genes located in them in four possible ways here in during the metaphase of meiosis second, and this produces four types of gametes, each with half the number of chromosomes and genes. In all these, two are parental and two are recombinant. So all the four types of gametes are in equal amount, that is 25% each, and it shows the ratio of 9:3:3:1. So this is the dihybrid cross to illustrate chromosome theory of inheritance with the alleles of two genes on separate chromosomes. Now here the second illustrations, and in this illustration you can see it shows the test cross between the F1 hybrid wild type with grey and normal wings with the double recessive black and vestigial wing, and it produces four types of gametes with regards to the chromosomal combinations, that is wild type, black vestigial, grey vestigial and black normal. So here the double recessive parent for in only one type of gamete and each have some chromosome, that is small b and small v small g. So here the progeny includes two parental type offspring and two recombinant offspring, and both are 50-50%. So, the result is the outcome of the segregation and independent assortment of the chromosomes bearing the alleles of the two genes during gamete formation. Hence, it confirms the principle of independent assortment, and it is possible to predict the number of allele combinations in either the male or female gametes using the general formula 2 to the power n. Here, n is haploid number of chromosomes. Now, incomplete dominance or blended inheritance. The expression of the traits of two pure parents as an intermediate conditions of the fine mixture in the F1 hybrids is known as incomplete or partial dominance. It is also called blended or intermediate or mosaic inheritance. It is due to the fact that the dominant character or gene is not a position to completely suppress the recessive one. With the result, the heterozygote has a different phenotype for the homozygotes for either allele. It is not an instance of pre-Mendelian concept of blended inheritance because the parental types reappear in F1 generation. Pre-Mendelian blended inheritance implied that the parental types could never be retrieved from the blended hybrid. It is found in both plants and animals like Mirabilis jalapa, Antirrhinum majus, and Andalusian fowl. So, the Mendel's experiment was dominant type, but this is not true of all the characters or organisms. There are characters or alleles that are not dominant or recessive. In such case, both the alleles of the contrasting conditions of a character express as a blend. Because of this, the hybrid produced by crossing two pure individuals does not resemble either of them but is midway between them. So this is the incomplete dominance. Now here the example of incomplete dominance in 4 o'clock plant, that is Mirabilis jalapa. Here a cross between a red and white flower forms pink in F1 generation, which shows blending. So when the two of the hybrid plants with pink flowers are crossed, the F2 generation includes plant with red, pink and white flowers in the usual combination, that means Mendelian ratio of 1 is to 2 is to 1. So this cross shows incomplete dominance. The genes of red and white color do not actually mix in the F1 pink hybrids as both the pure characters reappear in the F2 plants. There is no specific genes for the pink flowers. Quantitative effect of genes. It means the homozygous plants WW are unable to produce the flower pigment, and the heterozygote plant capital R capital W can produce only half the amount of flower pigments is produced by the homozygous plant capital R capital R. So, the phenotype F2 ratio of 1 is to 1 is characteristic of incomplete dominance, because here the genotypic ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 1 as like Mendel's ratio, and the phenotypic ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 1 at place of Mendel's ratio, that is 3 is to 1. Now, incomplete dominance in case of the Andalusian fowl. In this case, there are three varieties: white, black and blue. A cross between black and white chicken, blue chicken are formed as a result in F1 generation. But in F2, 1 is to 2 is to 1 combination form, that is 1 black, 2 blue and 1 white. So, the genes for black and splashed white color do not mash up and F1 hybrid and segregate in F2 hybrid, and here there is no specific genes for the blue color of the fowl. Now, codominance. When the two alleles, different forms of the Mendelian factors present on the same gene locus on homologous chromosomes, neither show dominant recessive relationship nor show intermediate conditions, but both of them express themselves simultaneously, called codominance. Both alleles which when present together in heterozygous individual express their traits independently instead of showing dominant recessive relationship are called codominant alleles. In codominance, a heterozygote shows a phenotype different from that shown by either of the homozygotes. The codominant alleles are shown by the same capital letter with different superscript, example IA, IB. A good example of codominance is appearance of different types of red blood cells that determine ABO blood group in human beings. Here you can see a difference in incomplete and codominance. In codominance, both the alleles express their typical phenotype, but in incomplete dominance, both the alleles fails to express their typical phenotypes. So in codominance, both equally expressed, but in incomplete, both alleles blend. Now, here you can see the four phenotypes, that is A, B, AB and O, are produced by three different alleles, that is IA, IB and IO of the immunogen gene. Because humans are diploid, so alleles are in pair. The alleles IA and IB are completely dominant over small I. When IA and I small I are present in an individual only, IA express, and when IB and small I are present, only IB express because I does not produce any sugar. But when an individual possesses IA and IB, both express their own types of antigens and the person is said to be having AB blood group. And this allele, that is IA and IB, shows the codominant. So there are six genotypes. You can see in the picture IA, 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 IB, IA small I, IB small I, IB, IB, small I, small I. And the four phenotypes, that is A, B, AB and O. Three blood groups in humans was discovered by Landsteiner, and the fourth blood group AB was discovered by D. Castello and Steny in 1902. These blood groups are controlled by the gene I, and these letters refer to a glycoprotein substance called an antigen that present on the plasma membrane of the red blood cells. Now, multiple alleles. More than two alternative forms of a gene in a population occupying the same locus on a chromosome or its homologue are called multiple allele. There are some characteristics of multiple alleles, in which the first one, that is there are more than two alleles of the same gene. All multiple allele occupy the corresponding loci in the homologous chromosomes. A chromosome or a gamete has only one allele of the group. Any one individual contains only two of the different alleles of a gene, one on each chromosome of the homologous pair carrying that gene. It expresses different alternatives of a single trait. Different alleles may show codominance, dominance, recessive behavior, or incomplete dominance among themselves. It conforms to the Mendelian pattern of inheritance. Now, here example, it shows the traits determined by the multiple alleles is the blood group in a man. So, human blood type is controlled by three alleles, IA, IB and small I. And alleles IA and IB are the dominant over small I, but IA and IB are codominant. So, the blood groups are inherited and do not change in an individual lifetime, and they are a useful indicator of the parentage. Some other examples, like the Drosophila has 15 alleles for eye color, and the rabbit, which you can see in the picture, shows 4 alleles for coat color, that is wild type, chinchilla, Himalayan and albino. Now, the complementary genes. Here, several varieties of white flowered sweet pea cross between the most of these varieties are only white flowered offsprings, but a cross between particular white flower varieties produces plants with purple flower. And F1 plants on inbreeding or self-fertilization give F2 generation in a ratio of a purple flower to a 7 white flowered. So, the two independent pairs of genes which interact to produce a trait together, but each dominant gene alone does not show its effect, are called complementary genes. Here you can see an example of the complementary genes. Here the two pairs of genes located in different chromosomes regulating the flower color in these varieties of the sweet pea. One dominant gene, that is capital C, controls the synthesis of raw material for the purple pigment, and the other dominant gene, say capital P, controls the formation of an enzyme that converts the raw material into the purple pigment. At least one capital C gene and one capital P gene must be present to produce purple flowers. So the absence of any one or both result in white flowers. Of the above two white flower varieties, one is genotypically small c and capital P, and the other is capital C and small p. The former lacks the genes for the formation of the raw material and the latter lacks the genes for the formation of enzyme needed to change the raw material into the final pigment. Hence, both are white color flower. A cross between capital C and small p and a small c capital P gives F1 generation, all the plants of which are genotypically capital C, capital P, small p, and phenotypically purple flowered, as they carry a gene for the raw material as well as the gene for the enzyme required to convert the raw material into the pigment. So, in F2 generation, derived from a cross between two purple flowered plants of the F1 generation, is shown in figure. You can see here the cross given a result of 9 purple to 7 white flowered plants instead of Mendelian dihybrid F2 ratio, that is 9:3:3:1. So, according to F2 analysis, it is clear in the above example that for the production of purple flower color, both complementary C and P genes are necessary to remain present. In the absence of either genes, the flowers are white. Thus, we can conclude that genes capital C and capital P interact, and presence of both is essential for the purple color in the flower. And these types of genes in which one gene complements the action of the other genes constitute complementary genes or factors. So, in complementary gene interaction, that is 9:7 ratio, Betson and Punnett crossed two pure breeding strains of white flowered sweet pea, and they found all the F1 were pure purple flowered. The F1 into F1 cross yields 9 purple and 7 white flowered progeny. They recognized that the two genes interact to produce the overall flower color. When genes work in a tandem to produce a single gene product, it is called complementary gene interaction. So here, the extract of white flowers of the two parents having different dominant genes appear colorless when kept separately, but when mixed together, purple flower color develop. This shows that the product of gene capital C and capital P are able to interact complementary even in the test tube. And this proves that the genes capital C and capital P produce anthocyanin in two biochemical reactions, and the end product of the first reaction forms the substrate of the second reaction, which you can see in the picture, that why the and how the anthocyanin forms and shows the purple color. After this, the next is supplementary or modifying genes. So, the two independent pairs of genes which interact to produce a new trait together, but each dominant gene alone produces its own trait, are called supplementary genes. So, in this picture, you can see the various breeders of chickens and they have some characteristic type of combs. Like the white leghorn has single comb which consists of a large upright blade, while the wyandotte has rose comb which is elongated but low and bears papillae on the base. The Brahma has pecomb, which is quite small and bears three longitudinal ridges. All these three types are the true breeding, and the pecomb and the rose comb are dominant over the single comb. When the pecomb and the rose comb chickens are crossed, all the offsprings in F1 generation have an entirely new type of comb that resembles half a walnut kernel and is called walnut comb. So, when the two walnut combined F1 individuals are mated, then the offspring of the F2 generation shows a ratio of 9 walnut comb, 3 pea comb, 3 rose comb, and 1 single comb. So, the walnut comb is thus not a unit character but merely a phenotype of pea and rose when they act together. So, this shows the supplementary or modifying genes. Now here, as an example, you can see the two pairs of genes located in different chromosomes determine the comb type and each displays a single simple dominance. If capital P represents the allele for the P comb and the small p its recessive allele, and if capital R represents the alleles for the rose comb and the small r its recessive allele, the allele equipment for the PCOM would be capital P, small r, and those for the rose comb is small p, capital R. Any individual with at least one dominant allele of each of the above two comb types, that is 1P and 1R, would have a walnut comb, and the single comb would result from the lack of both dominant alleles, that is small p, small r. So the cross which you can see in the picture, and here after the cross you indicates that the combinations of the alleles, that is P and R, gives walnut phenotype due to their interaction that modifies the trait, and the combination of the allele, that is capital P, give P phenotype due to its own simple dominance, and the combination of allele capital R give rose phenotype due to its own simple dominance, but the lack of both capital P and capital R alleles gives single phenotype. So this is the complete supplementary genes. Now, the polygenic traits or quantitative inheritance. Phenotypic traits are of two kinds, in which the first one is qualitative trait. These are the classical Mendelian traits which have two contrasting conditions controlled by a single pair of genes. The qualitative traits being controlled by a single pair of genes are called monogenic traits. The inheritance of qualitative traits is known as qualitative or monogenic traits. Now, the second is quantitative traits. These are the measurable phenotypic traits which do not have two distinct contrasting conditions. The quantitative traits are also known as metric traits because they can be measured and expressed in terms of units of length, weight, and number. Now, the polygenes. So here you can see that is polygenes. The quantitative traits are governed by several pairs of genes. These genes form a special gene complex known as polygenic system. Each gene of a polygenic system contributes to the phenotype but a small degree. Two or more pair of non-allelic genes which produce a cumulative effect on the same phenotypic quantitative character are called cumulative genes or multiple genes or polygenes. The dominant polygenes which collectively produce a trait are called contributing alleles and the recessive ones are termed non-contributing alleles. The polygenes may occupy two or more different loci or the same homologous chromosome pair or on different non-homologous chromosomes. Now, here you can see the quantitative inheritance. So, the inheritance of the quantitative traits, also called polygenic traits, and is known as the quantitative or multifactor or polygenic inheritance. In this kind of inheritance, F1 individuals are very similar to one another and are usually intermediate between the two parents. A cross between the two F1 individuals yields a widely variable F2 generation having a few individuals like one grandparent, a few like the other grandparents, and the rest ranging between the two. So, a good example of quantitative trait is seen in the human skin color. Now, here you can see the human skin color is believed to be controlled by at least three separately inherited pairs of genes, that is capital A small a, capital B small b, and capital C small c, located in different chromosomes and inherited independently. The genes for dark color, that is A, B, and C, are incompletely dominant, and the darkness of the skin color is proportionate to the sum of the dominant genes represent. So, a pure negro, that is very dark person, has 6 dominant genes for skin color. A pure white, that is very light person, has 6 recessive genes for lack of skin color. Here you can see a cross between a pure negro and a pure white produces F1 hybrid offsprings with the genotype capital A, capital B, small b, capital C, small c. And the skin color of the phenotype is mulatto, which is intermediate between the two parents. Here you can see here the mulatto, that is 20 in numbers present. The F1 hybrid form 8 kinds of gametes in each sex, giving 64 combinations in F2 generation, having same 7 genotypes and as many phenotypes. So, the skin color of F2 offsprings varies according to the number of genes for pigmentation they inherit. And here their skin color ranges from pure black, that is capital A, capital B, and capital C in 1 by 64 individuals through very dark brown in 6 by 64 individuals, dark brown in 15 by 64 individuals, and mulatto or intermediate is 20 by 64 individuals. Light brown is 15 by 64 individuals and very light brown is 6 by 64 individuals to pure white, that is 1 by 64 individuals. So this is the cross showing polygenic inheritance of human skin color, and each dominant gene is presented by a shaded circle and each recessive gene by an unshaded circle for simplicity. So the above cross show that it is possible for the parent heterozygous for skin color to produce children with darker colors and also with lighter colors than themselves. And here you can see the frequency distribution of human skin color can be presented by a smooth bell-shaped curve. And here Sir Francis Galton was the first to study quantitative or polygenic inheritance in men in 1883. And in this picture you can see the histogram and the bell-shaped curve showing the frequency distribution of human skin phenotypes, that is color, in F2 generation. So it starts from the pure white, then very light brown, then mulatto, then dark brown, then very dark brown, and the last is pure black. Now, epistasis and hypostasis. So, what is epistasis and hypostasis? A pair of genes at one locus may prevent the pair of genes at another locus. Such genes are called inhibiting or epistatic genes. So, the prevention of the expression of one pair of genes by another pair of genes is epistasis. The expression of which is prevented by epistatic genes are termed hypostatic genes. Epistasis reduces the number of phenotypes shown by the individuals of the F2 generation of a dihybrid cross. There are two types of epistasis. First one is dominant epistasis and second is recessive epistasis. Now, here you can see the dominant epistasis in Summer squash. Here you can find the ratio of 12 is to 3 is to 1 and 12 is to 3 is to 1 ratio in the F2 progeny of the dihybrid cross indicates that dominant epistasis. And the dominant alleles of one gene mask both alleles of the another gene. So the dominant alleles always mask another allele in case of dominant epistasis. Now the second is recessive epistasis. In this picture you can see the coat color in mice illustrate the principle of epistasis, which is recessive. Gray color in mice is dominant over the black color. However, another gene capital A is necessary to produce any pigment. So, in the homozygous recessive condition, no pigment is formed and an albino mouse is produced. This is true whether the mouse has the genotype capital B or capital B small or small b small b. Since the two pairs of genes are involved in the coat color of mice, one might expect an F2 phenotypic ratio of 9 is to 3 is to 1. But due to the epistasis action of one pair of genes on the another pair, ratio is modified to 9 is to 3 is to 4. So in case of dominant epistasis, you found the ratio that is 12 is to 3 is to 1. But in case of recessive epistasis, you find ratio of 9 is to 3 is to 4. So a cross between a homozygous grey and a homozygous albino mice gives F1 generation of heterozygous grey mice. A cross of two F1 hybrids produces grey, black and albino mice in the ratio of 9 is to 3 is to 4 in F2 generation. Since the recessive alleles suppress the expression of a trait in the above cross, the epistasis is called recessive epistasis. Now the pleiotropy. So in case of pleiotropy, the multiple effects of a gene is called pleiotropy, and have a gene having multiple phenotypic traits or effects is called a pleiotropic gene. Like example, the genes that controls the flower color in sweet peas also control the color of the seed coat and red spots in exiles of the leaves. In cotton, a genes for lint also affects plant size, ball size, seed number, etc. Another example of pleiotropy in the human disease called sickle cell anemia and phenylketonuria, which you can see in the picture. In case of sickle cell anemia, the genes which causes this disease alter the type of hemoglobin and also change the form of red corpuscles. So, the pleiotropy is the converse of polygenic inheritance in which two or more genes have additive effects on a single phenotype. So, the pleiotropic genes may not have equal influence on all the traits they control. A pleiotropic genes may cause a very evident expression of its specific trait, that is known as major effect, and a less evident expression of its other traits known as secondary effects. So this is the pleiotropy. Now, lethal genes. So what is lethal genes? The protein coded by certain genes are absolutely essential for the survival of the organism. A mutation in any of such genes may cause the synthesis of a non-functional or malfunctional proteins and thereby affect the viability of an individual. Genes with viability affecting mutations are called lethal genes. It is of two types. The first one is in case of recessive lethal alleles, a single dominant allele can produce the normal phenotype and therefore the heterozygote survives. But in case of homozygous condition, dominant condition, it will die. In case of dominant lethal genes, a heterozygotes fail to survive. So, the effects of lethal genes is called lethality. This is the end of lecture, and here you got many things related to genetics like test and back cross, chromosomal theory of inheritance, incomplete dominance, codominance, multiple allele, complementary genes, supplementary or modifying genes, polygenic traits, epistasis and hypostasis, pleiotropy and lethal genes. So the next upcoming video is linkage and crossing over. If you understand this video, so please like and share it and subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. If you have any questions, any queries or any suggestions, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for the watching.